Welcome in to another episode of the My Two Bits Gator Football Podcast. Or maybe we should start calling this your weekly Gator football therapy session. I'm one of your hosts, Ben, and as always, I'm joined by our other host, Mr. Randy. Randy, how we feeling tonight? Are you licking your wounds? Are you feeling all right? How's Gainesville tonight?
Good evening. My name is Randy, and I'm a Gator fan. Oh no, wrong meeting. Sorry. Yeah, man, it's interesting, especially with the events of the weekend and head coaching moves and people just taking to the social media, and it's just wild. Definitely not a good way to start off the week, but we persevere. I'll take a page out of Billy Nape's book and say we'll be disciplined. We have courage, right, to overcome adversity, right?
Yeah.
So we're just gonna go back to work.
That's it. And that's what we'll do here, right? We'll go through, we'll look at this from as analytical a lens as possible, really, I think, and kind of just evaluate what happened, talk through it, get our therapy session out, and hopefully feel a little better when we get done with everything. All right. So as always, on My Two Bits, we will take you through to start here with our intro and look at our mission, our vision, and our agenda for the pod. So our mission, as always, is to provide you factual analysis of all things Florida Gator football. We want to have unfiltered conversation around the product on the field, as well as recruiting and overall coaching decisions. Our analysis will always be based on review of film, and while we will express opinion, that opinion should always be based in some form of fact. We will also talk about our evaluation of strategy and tactics on the field, as well as observation of player personnel decisions and on-field execution. So for the agenda, we will go through and talk about the exciting plays we saw in the game to start with our Oh My segment. We will then go through and do our Chomp segment for a review of the offense, and then our Gator Bait segment for the review of the defense, what there was of it. Then we will go through and talk about our complaints of what things we didn't like this week from the team with or from the coaches, depending, in our visor throw segment. Then we'll talk a little recruiting, not the best of news there this week with the hatchling segment. And then we'll talk about the culture and what we see from the team's overall disposition and pride of the sunshine. Then we'll talk about the officiating from this week's game with Move Back You Suck. And then we will wrap things up with just kind of an overall state of where we think the program is and where it's heading, and then play a little game we like to call Keep It or Pitch It for next week's game with Missouri, and then wrap things up with our sign-off. So with that, let's get it started with oh my, what do you got for me this week with exciting plays, Randy?
Well, I'll tell you what. It was good to see the shootout there early, and definitely the boys came and they did the best they could. But as far as my oh my's go, I'm going to say the first one is going to be it was 3rd and 5 for LSU on their third possession, just under 2 minutes left to go in the first quarter. And we saw Jaden Hill come off the edge with a beautiful, beautiful spin move and tackled Daniels in the backfield, tackle for loss there. So that was a really nice
was
move.
a defensive end, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the way that he came off, I mean, the pop, it wasn't, you know what, twofold. A, it wasn't just the move, it was the fact the way he came off the line. And secondly, the way he pivoted to make that spin move. And then the pursuit of Daniels, which I think we kind of realize in this game, he's kind of, I think there's a difference between fast and quick, and he definitely has attributes of both. So
both. Indeed.
Anyways, yeah. So Jaden, kudos to you, buddy. Great move there. I would have loved to have seen more of that. And then Mr. Ricky Pearsall, Slick Rick, aka Ricky Ross, doing some great things right on the Gators' 8th possession. This was coming out of halftime, so in the third quarter, about 11 minutes left to go. A really great jump catch. I think he's making a habit of this jump catch thing. But either way, great way to get up. And I could be wrong, but I think there were definitely 2 defenders on him.
There were.
And not to mention one coming up on the backside. Might have been triple team. But either way, great awareness to get up. I didn't realize he has a 40-inch vertical, people.
Wow.
40-inch vertical. That explains why he jumps a lot. Anyways, 40-inch vertical, sneaky athletic. is Ricky Pearsall. Great catch there to give us some momentum to kind of try and propel us there in the third quarter, but they did the best they could. So, anyways, B, those are my two oh my's for the game.
We're leaving it at 2. Okay. Well, I get it. I understand. It's definitely not
Yeah,
a game that overwhelmed you with those for sure. I only have 3. And the Ricky catch is one of them. So I'll start with that one since you had it as well. I'll talk about, so obviously great play, nice ball by Mertz, nice catch. Obviously, you mentioned that piece of it. I'll also talk about the great call there, right? That was a first down play to start a drive. What an aggressive play call to start a drive. Don't typically see that from Billy, as we are well aware. But I loved it. I thought that was terrific. We were down at that point, right? We needed something to spark momentum back. We were actually down 10, I believe, at that point because they'd come down and scored after we didn't to start the half. We'll get into a little more
yep.
about that starting the half stuff later. But but at 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 any rate, that was a terrific play call there, and I really loved seeing that. Really loved seeing us open it up a little bit there. Thought that was really needed at that time. Loved the timing of it. We talk a lot about timing in the play call as well as just what the play calls are, and I think that was a really great time to call that as well. So really liked that. For my second one, which was actually the first one I had on the sheet, I'm going to give the opening drive as a whole. Now, I don't normally do this for an oh my, it's a little uncharacteristic, but I cannot understress the importance of that opening drive to come back after they scored first, which again, we'll address that later. I have serious beef with them getting the ball, but we'll come back to that. Um, that was so important. I don't even know, like, to counterpunch their punch, right out of the gate when we have not started well in road games, right? We've been slow to start. Now I know South Carolina was better, but still, we've been slow to start in games. I know Georgia was better, frankly, but still, the point is that we have not necessarily always done that. And in this game in particular, where they were going to score and they were going to score a lot, we had to have that drive. So it was great to see them come out firing on all cylinders, executing well, and going right down and getting that touchdown in a very hostile environment, being Death Valley at night. So that was really good. And then my third one was Trevor's second of 3 TDs, which is great that he had 3. I loved that. That second one was magic, man. Great vision to see the hole, hit the perfect gap, accelerated right through it, made a phenomenal cut, absolutely phenomenal cut, and then just juiced it right into the end zone. I mean, that was a terrific run. Really, maybe some of the best I've seen from him. I continue to see him getting better on film. He had the little ankle thing that slowed him down for a little bit. He missed the week and then he was really not himself the following week. But now that he's getting back to being more like full strength again, man, he's just getting better. I mean, this is going to be really special to watch him next year. I really hope, for whatever the reason might be, right? Whether it's he wins the start, whether it's Montrell goes to the pro, whatever. I don't want to see him having to share significant touches with Montrell next year. I love Montrell. He's a great guy.
Yep.
But clearly, Trevor is the superior talent here. He just is. And he needs to get the lion's share of the touches. He just does. So I want to see it, and I really hope we do next year because that is going to make our offense just all the better. So those are my oh my's. From here, we'll move it on to our chomp segment, talk a little about the offense, which really didn't play poorly. And I think that's important to keep in mind in this game. They played a pretty solid game. So first things first, talk about our stats here. Mertz 101.97, again, over 100. Again, we use the NFL QBR, right, up to 158.3. Anything over 100 is good. This is barely over 100, so it is a little, marginal, but it's still solid. 101.97. And then we also look at yards per carry. Again, we take out any negative stuff, the sacks, things of that nature, and we came out with a 5 yards per carry number, which is really not bad, especially on the road. It's certainly better than our average has been. So we did not run the ball badly. I thought Billy made a nice adjustment at halftime to do that better. I'll talk about that more in a minute here. Really, overall, some good and some bad. Just a lack of consistency at some times. This was not a good defense. And we came close to doing enough, I would say, but we fell short in the end. Really, if you look at it, it really wasn't all the end, right? There were 2 drives in the second quarter, and then also the first drive to start the third that were very costly, in my opinion. That first drive to start the third, especially to go 3 and out on that drive, is just unacceptable. You've got to come out of halftime, especially if you're going to defer the kick, which again, I'll get to later. But you cannot afford to go 3 and out on that drive against this team, period. Can't happen. You've got to execute better than that. So that was a costly one. And then there were two, again, in the second quarter after we got stops where we didn't go down and finish. And maybe one of them wasn't right after we got a stop. I don't remember the exact order of it, but there were two drives. One of them was really costly with that unsportsmanlike penalty that set us back, and we didn't convert that one. And then there was another one we just didn't finish in the second quarter. And you just couldn't have that against this team. You had to score basically every time, right? I mean, that's what it came down to. We're very close to it. And you know, just had to have it. And so there just wasn't enough of that. I liked some of the play calling and I liked some of the timing, as we already discussed. Another example of the timing would be that play action pass out of the end zone after we got that defensive goal line stop and getting a huge gain to Hayden Hansen. Really, really loved that play call. And again, the timing of it, right? What do you think you're going to do in the shadow of your own goalpost? Run it to get it out, right? Great play action fake. Great wheel route to the tight end. Absolutely wonderful call and great time to call it, right? That was really solid. I get you're not always going to get those things right, but I feel like we seldom get them right again as far as timing goes. So that was nice to see. I also loved that we changed in the start of the second half to some gap style running. It really worked. The zone stuff really wasn't working as well as I thought it should at all in the first half. Despite LSU not having a good run defense, really liked that we changed that stuff up. They even called it out on the broadcast. So, just a quick overview: zone versus gap. Zone, you're basically sending your offensive lineman to block a certain, zone of the field and setting up the runs, and the runner can actually run in multiple different gaps depending on, what suits the run best. Gap, you're blocking a specific gap, right? Either off the guard, off the tackle, whatever it might be, and you run through that hole. And the gap stuff was working better and was working really well there to start that third quarter after the first drive. And then they either adjusted or we weren't executing it as well, whichever. Regardless, it didn't continue to work as well, or maybe we just got too far behind to run as much. But at the end of the day, there were still too many conservative calls for a game where we needed to score a ton. We didn't have enough downfield passing again, right? You just didn't see it. Again, where's the play calling like what we saw against South Carolina? This defense should have been suspect to that, and it just wasn't there, or at least not consistently enough. And again, this is where it comes into play. I've said it before, we'll say it again. We need an offensive coordinator. Pretty much got to have it. If we don't see that change in the offseason, I'll be very disappointed, and I'll leave it at that. So what do you got for me on the chomp?
Yeah, man, great analysis overall. I like some of the points that you made, and I've got I think I've got some similar points, but overall, like I can't say. So one of the main things I was worried about was the fact that Death Valley, right? The attendance, man, 102,321.
Yep.
That's a lot of stinking people, and that's a lot of stinking people not for the Gators. I understand there were some Gator faithful there. Awesome. Thanks to those of you who traveled, showed up, Death Valley, enjoyed some gumbo, whatever the case might be. But that's just a lot of stinking people. It's a lot of noise. I was worried that we would have a lot of procedural penalties, right? LSU had more penalties than the Gators.
Yep.
Well, that was actually refreshing to see.
Yeah, really.
The other thing is, that's really unique is love the fact of how we opened the game. Punch, counter punch, great call out. But the other thing is to see that we were involved in kind of a semi shootout there,
Yep.
And so the thing that I was worried about, well, thank goodness it wasn't a noon game. I'll say that first, because if it was a noon game, we might have still been asleep. I don't know.
Yeah.
But showing up, primetime game, Death Valley, that type of stage, I felt like the guys were ready. They looked ready. Their hands were jittery and shaking and moving. Nobody was standing still. People were just moving around, bobbing around, weaving around. So that was really good to see. And here's the other thing too: 500 yards of offense 80, 81, 82 plays, depending on your source for stats, 35 points. If you take 500 yards of offense, 80 plays and 35 points, and you put that up into some algorithm, you're winning some football games.
Yep.
You are, period, right? Uh, Graham Cracker, right? 26 of 38, 68%. Sub 70. Okay, no biggie. 311 yards. Groovy. 1 touchdown. Trevor ETN, and I think I may have messaged you during the game. I said I hope he has a big game, especially he's coming back home right to the Bayou, and he did. 18 rushes, 99 yards, 3 touchdowns, a hat trick, right?
Yep.
Ricky Pearsall, 7 receptions, 103 yards. No touchdowns, but some impactful catches. Obviously, the one that we mentioned in the Oh My section. I think this is really unique, the fact that, Ricky has already superseded his career best in reception yards. Reception yards. He's closing in on 1,000 receiving yards. Let me rephrase that.
You should get it.
A Gator receiver is closing in on 1,000 receiving yards. Hasn't happened in almost 20 years, right?
Interesting. Over 20, 2002.
Right? Oh, yeah. 21. Change. Exactly. So really cool to see. B, this is something that bothered me. And again, I know what it is. I know it's the fact that we're trying to control the game. Let me rephrase that. Billy Napes trying to control the game. Some predictable schemes, the screen passes, the positioning, I get it. But I saw this and I kind of scratched my head. 31% of Mertz's passes are at or behind the line of scrimmage.
Mm-hmm.
Not sure if you saw that. 31%. Right. And so the other thing is, when we're looking at the weapons that we have, you go, my goodness, why don't we implore them? Right. Time of possession, 34 minutes and 24 seconds. That's a lot of time, almost 10 minutes more than LSU. 80 plays. Right. So
Yep.
the offense definitely did some things. We're controlling some of the time, and that's the other thing too. And this is no disrespect to the offense, obviously, but LSU kind of scored faster. So that was what it was. Our offensive line play. I agree with you. I love the switch up in the second half, changing some of the run game. Great. Some of the blocking on the gaps. Great. However, 4 sacks allowed.
Yep.
4 sacks allowed. That was probably too much. And the other thing that I liked about the offense, to be honest with you, is the fact that we had 7 explosive plays for north of 10 yards. And especially, more particularly, we had 1 play over 30 yards and 4 plays over 20 yards. That, you look at that and go, wow, what could be? What could be? So overall, when you look at the offense, I'm happy they came out to play. I'm happy they were ready. I'm happy they were able to go punch for punch, jab for jab type deal. And overall, this might sound kind of asinine, but I thought this was one of the better schemes or play calling schemes that Billy has had this year. When you look at all the other games and all the other flow of the games and what has happened, love the play action pass that Mertz had to get out of the end zone. I agree with that. I love the way the variations of some of the plays were made. That was fantastic. As far as offsetting, he was actually tried to play complementary football just on the offense alone. The other thing that I'm going to say, though, is it's amazing how we'll spotlight Trey to start, and all of a sudden it's like he just gets lost. It's like, wait a minute, where did he go again?
Yep.
We have a really valid weapon in him. Like we probably should get the ball to him again. So I think the other word that you used earlier was inconsistency, right?
Yep.
Or consistency, lack thereof. So
Yep.
That's the other thing that I struggled with the offense as far as this game goes. But outside of that, again, I'm just going to harp on almost 500 yards of offense, 80 plays, 35 points. The offense, kind of, in all due respect, did what they had to do to put us in a position to win. And I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, fair enough. So I'll agree that it was one of his better games from a play calling standpoint. I'll agree with you there, but I'll also say that I still don't think it was near good enough, and that's why I'm still gonna
Yeah,
say that I think it's got to get better there, and I think that only happens with an OC. So
you're not wrong.
that's but I do think you're right. I do think it was better than most. I think South Carolina stands out to me this year as being the best, but it was better than most. So I'll agree with that. All right, so let's transition. Let's talk some Gator bait. Let's talk a little defense or lack thereof. The Gator bait was small. It was a minnow. That was what we were fishing with.
In other
All
words,
right.
it left me very, very hungry. Very hungry.
Exactly. All right, talk to me. What do you got for defensive points this week?
This is what's tough, man. I get the talent and the talent gap
Yeah,
between us and LSU,
big
but at the
one.
same time, we don't have scrubs neither. Again, I say that to say it was just really tough to watch some of those plays where Jaden Daniels looked like a 7-star. I know people, there is no such thing as a 7-star, but it was just like, holy smokes, man. Would somebody just put a body on the guy? Would just some spy the guy right? And again, we miss some assignments. I get that. This is what bothers me about the defense. At least 35 points given up in the last 4 games.
Yep.
Now, granted, we started off very strong. We still have a top-ranked defense, but at the same time, we are in the heart of the SEC season, and to surrender 35 points or more in the last 4 games is so worrisome, right? When you look at what is happening with the defense, consistency comes into play, confidence comes into play,
Mm-hmm.
all these different things, right? And we get it. LSU was an offense that came in ranked number 1 in the country or top in the country, right? But I feel like that's no excuse for giving up 700 yards.
Well, it's hard to find any excuse for giving up 700 yards, but yes.
Right? Most in school history. It was just like, holy smoke, is this actually happening? This doesn't seem right. I mean, the man was coming. What if he didn't have the concussion? What if he was not in concussion protocol this week? Right? Would he have gone for 680 yards of individual offense himself? Good
It's hard to
Lord. That was
imagine him getting much more than he did, but
right. So that was it. Um, Listen to these numbers on the defense. Jalen Kimber, right? 5 tackles. Jaden Hill, 4 tackles, 2 assisted, 1 sack. Right? Banks, 4 tackles. Scooby Williams, 3 tackles. Nunnery, 4 tackles, 1 assisted. Kelby Collins, 3 tackles, 1 assisted. Jamari Lyons, 2 tackles, 1 assisted. Right? McClellan, 2 tackles, 4 assisted, half a sack. Derek Wingo, 2 assisted tackles, no solos, half a sack. Jalen Kimber led us with 5 tackles. That's it.
yep.
Everybody else was essentially solo or assisted.
Yep.
Really, really tough to see.
Yep.
I will say this. It was a huge turnover on downs when we stopped them at the 2-yard line. I thought that was going to be a game changer. I thought that was going to be the spark. And the defense said, you know what? It's almost like, oh, can I do it? Can I do it? And then you do it. You're like, holy smokes, I can do it. But I'll tell you what, we couldn't hold them. Right? So we had seven explosive plays. LSU had 11.
Yeah.
11. Right? And when you look at some of the plays that they had from that standpoint that were explosive plays, it's really hard. It's really hard to think of it that way, but especially Jaden Daniels with that obscene run, right? Obscene run of 85 plus yards. Like I can't even count that high. And
Yeah.
almost ran a football field. Couldn't catch him. Okay. The other thing is I don't know how and I don't know where, but Princely.
Mm-hmm.
I get it. He was wrapped up in this and that, but Princely had, again, this could be off, but only 2 tackles.
I don't think it's off. He had a terrible game.
Right? Very hard. He did not get into the backfield. He was not nearly as effective as I thought he could have been and or he should have been. So that was also disappointing because I felt like if we can get pressure on Daniels, that would be a good thing, but also have a spy, contain. But guess what? It seems like when we tried to do that, we got picked, we got another assignment, we forgot where to turn, and we turned. You know what? You know what? I tell you what, Jaden Daniels reminded me of when my kids were like 2 years old and they just learned how to walk. And I turned my head for one quick second just to check on something else. And I turned my head back and they're gone. That was Jaden Daniels, right? For some reason, the babysitter, I tell you what, just head was turned, 2 seconds. Oh my gosh, 2 seconds, 1.8 seconds too much. And he was gone. And we couldn't catch him. Had no answers for him. So I'm going to stop right there. B, I know you've got a little bit more on Gator bait, so I'm just going to stop there and just say, hopefully we can find some momentum, find some peace or solace coming out of this because we got to go play Missouri next week. But hopefully AA can make some adjustments and get us back in the right places to make the right place.
Yeah, and to be fair, I don't know if he can. Um, so agreed with a lot of your points there. But I think that a lot of this does come back to talent, and not just overall talent, but talent mixed with experience. And I'll kind of get to that at the end of what I want to say here. But let's start off with the stats again, the ones we're always looking at for both teams. These hurt, so hold on to your shorts. Daniels NFL QBR 147.12. That is a really big number. Again, it caps out at 158.3. That's perfect. So we're real close to that. That's a phenomenal rating. Yeah. And then yards per carry. Now, this is including Daniels and all his runs. 9.71 yards per carry. Ouch. Ouch. Now, we will throw this footnote in here. For the running backs, if you take Daniels out of the equation, we only allowed 4.36 yards per carry, which is much better. So there is that to consider. And this was a good running team in LSU, even with their running backs, like not talking about Daniels as a part of that, just their running backs. Now I know they were missing their starting guy, but still, they have a stable of running backs there. So that number's not so bad. But the rest of it's pretty rough. So again, ouch. Obviously the 700 yards, that's horrific. And it was tough. It was tough to watch a lot of it. But despite the insane numbers, we actually got some key stops, right, in the first half anyway, that gave us a chance in this game. They really did. Unfortunately, the offense did not capitalize on some of those, and we did not get the same stops, of course, in the second half. Uh, Defense actually had a fairly decent scheme for most of the game, in my opinion. We played a lot of man, which I think is the best possible choice. Obviously, we got burned at times doing that, but you didn't have a choice. If you played zone, you're just going to get smoked. It's like Billy Napier said after the game. Do you want to die a slow death, right? Just playing zone and watching them pick you apart, right? They might have not hit as many big plays, but they were going to just eat you alive going down the field. You were not going to stop them playing zone. So what did you want to do? Did you want to take a chance to actually try to hold them and that your coverage would hold up in man? Or did you, want to assure that they were going to march down the field and score every time? What, given the choice, you take the one that has a chance, right? I didn't have a problem with it at all. I also really liked some of the blitz schemes that were really working, especially towards the end of the first half. We were, and I'll get more specific about that. So we started the game doing some double A gap stuff, right around the center there, and rushing 2 linebackers through there. That didn't work so well. But then near the end of the first half, we would overload one side. We'd put 4 guys on one side of the line, and that really worked. We got a sack out of one of them. We got some good pressure out of another, and Daniels missed a throw. Like, we had some nice stuff working with that blitz package. And then we didn't really run it again in the second half, which really confused me. We blitzed a couple times in the second half, but it was back to the double A gap thing. That kind of confused me. I don't know why Armstrong went away from that. Maybe there was something that got exposed there that he didn't like, and Daniels just missed it, and he didn't want to see that exposed again. I don't know. I don't get the all 22 to review and see everything on the field, but and even if I did, I might not see that. I don't know. I'm not a savant when it comes to this, like Armstrong is, right? But I'm not sure what caused him to go away from that, but something did. So whatever the case may be, I would have liked to see more of it, but we didn't get it. And then there was the D line without a blitz when we only rushed 4. Really disappointing. Multiple times, Daniels is back there. We actually have good coverage, and we've got no rush at all. Not even pressure from the guys pushing the O-lineman back. Just nothing. Just totally clean pocket for 3, 4, 5, like 6 seconds till he finds a receiver or a running back that's not covered by a linebacker. Get to that in a second. Or he just takes off and runs. And either way, like, you got to get some kind of rush. Princely, where are you? Worst game for Princely this season by far. That guy's win rate was like 33, 32%, something like that, where he was beating his man. I don't think he beat his man once all night. Maybe one time. Like, that was terrible. I was shocked. It was not a good game at all by anybody on the defensive line. Really, their gap discipline was okay. That was about it. And maybe they were coached to do that because they didn't want them running by their guys so that he could escape the pocket and kill us for yardage. Well, that didn't work, obviously. So I don't know what was going on there. I don't know. I don't know what the scheme was, but I really thought we needed to get more pressure there, and we didn't get any with the front 4. Really not okay. Again, youth continue to be an issue, and this is a theme, right? That I'll continue to go into here. Several missed tackles and bad angle by Thornton and Castell. Right, I thought overall they played their coverage assignments pretty well. Their run help was decent, but when Daniels escaped the pocket, poof, bad, not good. Their kind of improvisation stuff, their instinctual stuff is not there yet. They don't know how to handle the speed yet. You just can see it. And Castell, frankly, should be getting better at that by this point, as many snaps as he's taken this year. And I'm not seeing the improvement in that part of his game that I would like to. So that's a little concerning, but there is still time for that to get better. Scooby in coverage. Maybe I should say Scooby not in coverage, because the guy doesn't even attempt to cover the running back more than once when he's supposed to. Oh, man, that was terrible. He rated out, I just saw before we did this, he graded out as our lowest player on Pro Football Focus, 32.8 grade from Pro Football Focus. That grade goes from 0 to 100. That's real bad. I mean, real bad. He had a terrible game. Not good. Not good at all. That's why those running backs were wide open out of the backfield and why we gave up a TD in the second half off that. So just horrible coverage there. I guess what I want to say overall, and this is really the point that I want to make here, despite the disastrous numbers, despite the disastrous, score, I still saw several good things that we're doing, or at least we're trying to do. We just simply don't have the personnel or the experience with the personnel that we do have, right? So it's either the guys we have don't have enough talent to do it, or they do have enough talent, but they don't have enough experience. So we're just not there yet. We can't do the things that we need to do and that we're being coached to do yet. Keyword, yet. We're being coached to do the right things here. That's the key. I keep coming back to it. Played a ton of man. Good. We should have. That makes sense, right? That's what we should have been doing. We're doing things that make sense. We're just not able to execute them at the level against the talent, especially we're playing. I mean, one of the most talented offenses we're going to play all year, probably the most talented offense we're going to play all year. And okay, we couldn't hold them. But we were trying to do the right things in order to hold them. We just didn't have the talent / experience to do it. That's okay. It's not okay what the result ended up being. I understand that as a fan, But at the end of the day, the fact that we're trying to do the right things is a good thing. And it will get better if we keep doing that and we recruit appropriate talent, which we are doing. So I know it's bad right now, but I really, really believe that we are on the right track, especially with the defense. Frankly, the defense is in a better position here, I think, than the offense is going forward, unless some of the changes that I think we need to make in the offseason are made. Then maybe the offense takes a step forward a little quicker. But the defense is going in the right direction. We just have to have the personnel get in line with what's going on with these schemes. That's the way that I see it. And I'm pleased with that. It's just unfortunate that the personnel isn't there yet. And that's why I said I don't know that there's anything Armstrong can do for this game or the next, quite frankly. I'm not saying we won't be better against Missouri in terms of, be able to contain them a little better. They're not near the potency of offense that LSU is, but they're still pretty decent. And yeah, I think we're going to struggle because there's still a talent / experience gap, a combination, right? And losing Shamar was just brutal, for the record. It was just brutal.
Oh yeah.
And that's going to continue to haunt us the rest of the season. And I don't know that there's much that we can do about, any of it to a point. Maybe somebody, gets better this week, figures something out in practice and steps up. I don't know. But to me, it's unlikely that we see any dramatic change in the defense, this season. But going forward, I absolutely think the opportunity is there. So I know that was a lot. I know that was pretty involved, but I really wanted to say it because I think it's important that despite this terrible statistical performance, we recognize that there are good things here and there is genuine reason to be hopeful about the future. So with that, we will transition and talk a little visor throw. So I'll get us started here, and you'll keep listening to me yak. But I don't have a ton here. I've actually only got 3. So number 1, and I already alluded to this earlier, deferring the opening kickoff. We won the coin toss and we deferred to debatably the best offense in college football. Why? This is an offense you don't want to get the ball. Why would you give them the ball? I understand they get it to start the second half if you defer. I get it. But you have the offense to start the game and set the tone, set up your ball control, set up your time of possession right from the opening kick. Why in the world would you give a defense which has been bad to start every road game and given up a ton of explosive plays, especially early, meaning our defense? Why would you put them out on the field first and not put your offense in control of the ball to start the game? And then on top of it, as already mentioned, you start the third quarter with a 3 and out. So you literally didn't get 7 points to start because you gave them the ball, and then you didn't get 7 points at halftime because you went 3 and out. I was livid when I heard we deferred this kick. I was like, are you kidding me? That's the craziest thing I ever heard in my life against an offense like this. This is not, you defer an opening kick on the road when you are a monster defensive team. We are not that, clearly. 700 yards clearly indicates we are nothing close to a monster defensive team. That is the only time you should ever do that. And especially when we are a team that wants to play a ball control offense, you want that ball first. Are you kidding me? I couldn't believe that decision. That was nuts. I don't know if maybe one of the captains got the call wrong. I don't know. But to me, that was absolute insanity. And I was losing my mind. So that's number 1. Number 2, even though the penalties weren't bad, the timing of some of them were terrible. They killed a couple of key drives, especially that one I mentioned earlier. They were just bad timing on a couple of them that really, really messed that up. So again, I know that there's really never a good time, but we had a couple in the second half that weren't really a big deal. That's an example of where it's okay. But there were, like I said, there were a couple in the first half that just absolutely killed a drive. Just can't have it. Just cannot have it, especially in a big road game. You cannot sacrifice a drive where you have a chance to score points because of unforced errors. Just can't happen. So that's another one. And then lastly, you mentioned it, not getting Trey the ball enough. So he was on the field way more. We complained last few weeks about his snap share. His snap share was way better. It was in the 60s out of an 80 snap game. That's way, way, way better. Much improved there. Glad to see it. However, we did not find ways to get him the ball as much. Now, I'm sure LSU was doing things to try and, uh, put more coverage on him, you double him, whatever the case might be. However, you got to be more creative. You got to find better ways. We ran him as a running back against South Carolina. Where's that been? I know he did have one carry, but it was on a reverse. So where's put him back in the backfield again? What's wrong with that? Where'd that play call go? Oh, it worked great against South Carolina. Let's never use it again. That makes sense. Seems logical, right? What are you thinking? Get Trey the ball. The guy is dynamic. We've said it a million times. In the past, teams keyed in on Darius Toney and Percy Harvin too, but we figured out a way to get them the ball, didn't we? Why are we not doing the same thing with Trey? It's got to get done. It's just got to get done, period. It's the only chance, frankly, we have to pull out one of these last two games is getting him and ETN the ball. So I said I had 3. I lied. I have 4. Defense continuing not to blitz in the second half. Again, I got to call this out. We really, and it's really more of an in general thing. I've called it out before. Armstrong is supposed to be a blitz master, right? In dialing these things up. And I've been super unimpressed throughout the season. I don't know if it's a personnel thing. I don't know what the problem is, but the blitzes really need to be better. He had that little segment there at the end of the first half that was amazing. That's exactly what I want to be seeing out of him. And then basically the rest of the game, it fell flat. And that's how I felt most of our blitz has been for most of the year. So that's just got to get better. And really, I think, again, needs to be used more. I got excited there where I started to see it some more at the end of the first half. And I was like, yes, do it. And it was working, right? And then it just goes away again. So, in my opinion, what do you got to lose at this point? You give us 700 yards. Just blitz, man. Come on. You know. So that's my visor throw. I'll turn it over to you. What you got? What's your beef for the week, man?
I dig it, man. I dig it. No, I don't dig it for the good reasons. We have a couple of the similar. So, visor throw. My first visor throw. Damian George gets a 15-yard penalty. Now I get it. He was shoved first. I get it. There's chippiness. There's language, but at the same time, you shove the player back. Looked like a punch from a certain angle. I know it wasn't a punch. It was a massive shove right in front of an official to get a massive 15-yard penalty. Really? Oh, and by the way, Damian George, my second visor throw. Damian George continuing to get beat or continuing to
Oh
allow
man, yeah.
ends right around him. It's almost as if he's a greeter at Walmart saying, "Welcome to the neutral zone. How can I help you?"
Oh
And
man.
for a man of his size, I mean, that is a big man. That is a big man. Does he need some help with mobility? Does he need some help? I don't know. I don't get it. But that is a big man. He takes up space, right? Outside of, well, he doesn't compare to Dez, but still, Damian George is a very large human being. I know he knows how to move. I'll just say that. 4 for 13 on third downs. We continue to struggle on third downs, and it is just not even close. There's a reason why we're in the low 30% for the season. Terrible. Got to advance the ball. Got to move. Shouldn't be in fourth down situations. 4 for 13 on third down. Visor throw number 4. 500 yards. Nearly 500 yards of offense, 80 plays, 35 points. And he come out with a loss. Tough to swallow. Visor throw number 6. 701 yards allowed. I can't even count that high. Visor throw number 7. Feed Trevor and Trey, or if I can make the case for their new law firm, Etienne and Pearsall, attorneys at law, they have built a case why they need the football more. Sorry, Etienne and Wilson.
Yep. I know what you
Ricky
meant.
can get the ball too. Rick can get the
Yep.
ball, but at the end of the day, Trey is twitchy. Trey is tricky. Trey can do a lot of unique things with the football, and
I
not to
do I do think
mention,
it's I do think it's funny. Sorry to interrupt you, but I do think it's funny when the broadcasters are like, I don't know why they don't get the ball to Pearsall. He's their best player on offense. I'm like, dude, no, he's not. Like, I love Ricky, but he is not our best player on offense. Sorry.
you notice that
He
too,
might
right?
not be our second best player on offense. Like,
Yeah. Um, to that point, it's funny. I don't know if Napier's like, oh, I have so many weapons. I have so many weapons. I get so confused. I'm not sure who to use. Arliss Boardingham. Where's Arliss? Arliss showed up in like the end of the third quarter,
yeah.
right? I get that
Yep.
Hayden Hansen got the ball a couple times. Maybe Hayden is, looks like Thor, but he's less intrusive. And so maybe Billy thinks he can sneak him in and get a catch or two or three and, about 37 yards out of him. But outside of that, get Arliss the football,
Yeah. Agreed.
right?
Agreed.
And then my last visor throw, it's pretty dirty, pretty muddy, pretty crappy. The defensive pressure. So you had a great call out earlier about being in man. So yeah, if you're in man, you might get beat. Okay, sure, no problem. But at the other hand, I would like to think, as young as we are, there's talent, and according to Billy, this team's willing to work. They've shown the work. They've shown putting in the work. Okay, cool. And I get it.
Yep.
We're still grossly young. I want to say when we went up against Georgia, their average age was senior and our average age was sophomore, barely. Defensive pressure. I want to see Princely run free, controlled, but free. He should not be lining up anything other than with one goal of I need to get to the quarterback. I need to get to the backfield as quickly as possible. That's it. And I tell you what, B, we mentioned a couple of weeks ago, but obviously for Gator Nation, those of you who don't know this, Justice Boone, we lost him for the season before the season started. So my only hope is that Princely stays. It seems like he will not, but if he can stay, come back next fall to have him on one side, Justice Boone on the other side, and a couple of other players, and you know what, B, I think that's why you said what you said about the defense, as far as we're not there yet. We have talent, but again, tenure is not there yet. Experience is not there yet. I see why you would say some of those things. I really do. I really do.
Yep. Yeah, it's either talent or experience, and the very few guys have both. And Princely is one that
Mhm.
has both, for the record. Princely was one that had
Yeah.
both, and Shamar was about to be one that had both, and then he got hurt.
Yeah.
And aside from that, theoretically, Jason Marshall has both, but he was better. I will say Jason Marshall been better the last couple of games, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's all I got for visor throw, man. It's pretty bad, pretty dirty.
Yeah, agreed. Pretty dirty for both, and frankly, as it should be, right? I mean, there's a lot here that
Mm-hmm.
we need to and can do better, and we're going to have to do better if we want to win one of these last two games, or both. Um,
Or both.
hey, ever the optimist, right? No, I'm
I
not.
know.
I'm a realist, not an optimist. And I don't think we're
Optimistic
winning. And I don't think we're
realist.
winning either one, for the record. But if we
Yeah.
want to, we're going to have to do those things better. So, all right. So moving on, talk a little hatchlings, a little recruiting here. Not the best of news here either, unfortunately. It's a hell of a weekend to be a Gator fan. For those that are not aware, Waller, I believe it's Devonta Waller. I believe that's correct first name. Apologies if I'm getting that wrong. But flipped his commitment, 4-star edge rusher out of Auburn. Not overly concerned about that one, considering we have McCray in the fold. McCray's by far the superior talent there. Obviously, it's always a little concerning when you lose an edge, but we've got some good edge guys already that are young in this class. Kelby, obviously, TJ, really good, and then McCray coming in. So not the end of the world to lose him. Also lost Wardell Mack. Now I will say I did hear a comment earlier that I was listening to something earlier, and Somebody said they weren't surprised we lost Mac because they were surprised. They were very surprised. And I will say the prediction machine only had us at like 3% to get Mac in the first place. And then we landed him, and then now he's flipped to Texas. So I don't love losing Mac because he's a 4-star DB, and we don't have a ton of DBs in this class. We have a couple, but I that one bugs me a little. Moreover, it bugs me to lose 2 in 2 days, especially after this loss. That's a trend I don't like. Needs to stop right now. We cannot afford to lose more recruits out of this class. We already fell 1 spot in the rankings. We're down to 4th. That I don't particularly care about. I'm not going to worry about fractional decimal points in the overall rating. This is still a very solid class. I'd like a couple more guys to make it even more solid before we close this thing out. But even if we don't get those, as long as we don't lose anymore, or maybe one more, but that's it. I'm worried about Nasir Johnson. I'm not going to lie. Georgia is in his ear hard.
Sure.
But if that's the only other one, I can live with that too. But that's got to be it. Like, that's got to be it. We have got to hold the rest of this class together, and I really hope that we do. I will say Napier's track record so far with that is pretty good, but he's also never had a class like this with this many high-profile, talented kids. So we'll see what happens. We got about a month and a week to go. Fingers crossed. Wait and watch, Gator Nation. If this class falls apart, Napier's time here is probably not long. I think he'll go another year regardless, but I bet you it doesn't go much beyond that if he can't hold together recruiting classes, because that's what he's supposed to be here for as much as anything. So those are my thoughts on recruiting. What you got?
Tough. Yeah, Waller is what it is. Mac, and I heard the same thing about Mac. That's fine. The one thing that was tough to see as well is LJ McCray. You know where he was over the weekend, right?
FSU.
Yeah, so that is what it is. Hopefully, I know we have a really, really great chance with him, and so hopefully everything else that was mentioned and that was said and that was committed does fall through.
He seems like a pretty mature kid, though. I think I think a lot of these guys just go for the trip. Phil Simi tweeted out that basically he's just going up for the trip and not to worry, and he's Gator all the way, which I'm not worried about Oregon. I am still worried about Texas, but
Sure.
but I think a lot of these guys, it's the Jeremiah Smith situation, right? They're just going to the games because they're a VIP for a college football game over and over and over again. Who wouldn't want to go do that? You know what I mean? Why not? That doesn't mean you're going to go there. That doesn't mean you're going to flip your commitment. So that's important to keep in mind in all this stuff, I think, too. It doesn't always mean anything. So sorry to interrupt.
No, you're good, man. I mean, it makes sense, And outside of that, the only other recruiting news that I know of is, Shaquille O'Neal's daughter just committed to Florida Lady Gators hoops. So I know Shaquille's got a couple of sons. I know one of them is, I think, in the G League, or maybe might be on the roster. But Shaq, you want to send a couple of your boys this way, that'd be great. So outside of that, that's all we got for Hatchlings, my man.
I heard that too. That's good stuff, man. I thought that was cool. Good deal.
Sure.
All right. Moving on. Pride of the Sunshine, culture stuff. Let's go. What do you got for me? Talk to us.
Yeah. So I love this section. I really do, for a lot of things that Napier's implemented and the way the change the program's happening. So I'm going to keep this as brief as I can. But the main thing that I saw this week is a team that came ready to go. Now, having that been said, that's why I was so surprised at the option to defer. I was like, well, if they came that jacked come out of the tunnel and seeing the action on the sideline, I'm thinking, okay, great, we'll get the ball, we'll march down there and good to go. But no, okay, so be it. Punch, counter punch, fine. It's tough, man. The Tigers have won 11 in a row in Death Valley at night. Okay, the Tigers have won their fifth consecutive game against the Gators, and that's the longest streak in our rivalry, right? That dates back to 1937. 5 in a row. Tommy want wingy. Tommy no want Tigers beating Gators. Okay, real simple. Graham Cracker broke Timothy Tebow's school record of consecutive passes without an INT.
Yep, saw that.
You know, it's funny. I was talking to a good bud over the weekend. He said, you know, I just, Graham's not what I thought he was going to be. I said, what do you mean? I thought he would be so much more. I said, really? Yeah, he's just not what we need. I'm like, well, I'll tell you what, maybe not, but he was exactly what the doctor ordered for us this season amidst everything else going on and the constant change that this program has had to endure and the pieces that are left to be picked up from the previous administration. So
that's a great call out. He is exactly what we have needed this season. That consistency there is invaluable.
And that's the thing, right? When you look at his number, people, oh, well, he doesn't throw the ball downfield. That's why he has a high completion percentage.
It's the offense.
Okay, great. But guess what? Who is a quarterback to go against his coach, coordinator, and say, yeah, you know, I know what you think, but I'm going to just do this over here? No. Yep. No. When I talk to different players, people around the program, there's this resounding factor that Billy Napier knows that each of these kids understand that he's got their best interests at heart. He tells them famously, I've got to face the consequences. I've got to take responsibility. I expect you to as well. That's something that not every coach says. And that's the other thing from a development standpoint, I think that he's instilling in some of these young men that I think is phenomenal. It's going to go a long, long way. I really do think they showed up to play. Like I said, thank goodness what is a noon game. But they really did. They showed up to play. They came to play. The punch, the counter punch. They were up for the challenge. I just didn't think we had the full set of knives in the butcher block, right? We bought the set from Cutco. We were gypped about 4 or 5 pieces out of the 17-piece set. And that's where the talent gap comes in.
Yeah.
You know,
that's a nice analogy. And I love all the noon game stuff. First noon road game we win. I don't care who it is. We're having a party. Okay. That's a deal right now.
Oh, you bet. Absolutely. Absolutely. The last thing I'm going to call out is it might not mean a lot to some, but this is one of my pet peeves. And you know this, B. I do not like to see a Gator player get trucked. I do not like to see a Gator defender, offense get run over. Okay. So particularly, this is on UF's 11th possession to start the fourth quarter, right? Johnson had a really, really tough run. He got tackled. He broke it, stiff armed, broke it, and pushed his way to get that first down. 3 plays later, there's ETN marching into the end zone for a 5-yard touchdown run.
Yep.
I like to see that type of fight in the fourth quarter.
Yep.
Down on the road in Death Valley in front of 102,000 people. I love what Montrell did. Might not seem a lot to a lot of people, but that showed to me if Montrell was fighting like that, our team was fighting like that. Because if it's one thing that I've learned out of all the different scenarios that this team has been a part of this season, all the different things that we've heard coming out of what's happening with the program, the culture, the accountability, all these other things, is that they play together.
Yep.
So outside of that, that's what I've got as my review for Pride of the Sunshine. B, what do you got?
No, great stuff. Again, love your passion for this segment, and it always comes through. And I really appreciate that. I think it's great.
Yeah, man.
Mine's real short and sweet, man. Same story, different chapter here, right? Team kept fighting till the end. I keep saying it, and they really did. Even that last drive, they didn't quit. Got all the way down to the goal line, and then, unfortunately, got that ball batted down when they were trying to get it into the end zone. Tough break. I would have loved it. I would have loved to score there. Do we just a quick call out? Do we feel differently if we lose by 10? Do we feel differently? You know what I mean? Even though it's a garbage touchdown, but I could also make an argument that LSU's last touchdown was a garbage touchdown for the record. Game was pretty much over. So, I mean, do we feel differently if the score is, 52-42? I don't think we do, for the record, not really differently.
No.
I don't think it really matters. But it just, but I love that they were down there still fighting, still, playing and leaving it all out there on the field. And this team
Yeah.
really always does that. I mean, they always do it. I love that we took the lead in the third and just kept getting after it. It didn't always go our way. Again, we didn't quite have enough. I don't put all that on the players at all, not at all. Um, just zero qualms with the effort and competitiveness, like you said, that I'm seeing from this team. Whether it's this game or frankly any other. The slight little bit of question mark in that second quarter at Georgia. That's the only time all year
Oh,
that I've
sure.
ever questioned this team's effort. That's it. Other than that, it's been really good. And listen, I get it. It can be difficult when you're just outmatched, right? And in this game, I think we knew we were outmatched on offense, but I think the defense still played really hard. Like, I don't think they quit. I think they just got beat a lot. And that's not the same thing, right? I didn't see quit out there. I didn't see guys jogging. I didn't see guys not running, and not trying. They just not good enough, unfortunately. But again, I think that gets better as we go forward. So that's really all I've got. I'm happy with the culture I continue to see and the attitude I continue to see from the players being displayed on the field, and that's a good thing. That's one of the bright sides of Napier. We talk a lot about the things we want to see improve from him. This is an area I think he shines, and I think that's really good to see. So that's what I got there. So with that, we will move on
Nice.
to our officiating review. Um, Again, here I'm going to keep this relatively short. There's a few different things I could call out. First of all, overall, pretty good game. Really not bad. Better than what we've seen of late from the officiating that we've had. I thought, didn't have like a bunch of issues with the officials, which I thought was good. I did think there was a questionable no call on Johnson when he got tackled literally into the LSU bench, like 12 yards off the side of the field, and he
Mm.
was tackled. Like, it's one thing when you're still both running and you're upright. No, he brought him down like 12 yards out of bounds. That's not okay. That's got to get flagged. And it was not flagged. Um, I had issue with that. That one was a real problem for me. Other than that, I thought they handled the chippiness pretty well. They just kind of went in and broke it up. They didn't flag everything, when the teams are getting chippy with one another. And I know they flagged the one on George, but they should have. He hit the guy in the face, right? You can't do that. Shoulder pads one thing. You can't push a guy in the helmet, right? You're just not. They're not going to tolerate that contact to the head. We know
Yep.
that. I was okay with the flag. I didn't have a complaint there. It's a stupid thing for George to do.
Yeah.
you know, I didn't have a beef there, but I thought the one where Montreal got taken that far out of bounds and then brought down. I know it was still, kind of continuous motion, but he shouldn't have brought him to the ground. And that didn't sit well with me that didn't draw a flag. So that's my call out for a missed call. That's the only one I'm going to call out. It's really the only one that kind of stood out to me. But I do have a call out on some of the replay stuff, and I'm only going to bring one up because I think it was really really critical.
Yep.
And of course, it's going to be the one that everybody's going to point to, which
Yep.
is Khalil's catch right on third down, and this is the key. It was third down. We were driving, and we were right around the 50 there. Just with the play went over the 50, we were on the other side of the 50. So first point, I do not in any way see indisputable video evidence that he did not maintain control of that catch. Is it possible that he didn't? Absolutely. But was there definitive evidence from the angles that were shown on the replay? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. There was no definitive evidence that he did not maintain control of that ball. Did it wiggle? Did it bobble? Yes. But did he not maintain control? No evidence of that shown whatsoever that was definitive. And that is supposed to be the criteria when the ruling on the field was a catch. Really not okay for them to overturn that in my mind. Secondly, and maybe even more importantly, again, it was a critical call because it was third down and it ended our drive, which we were only down 3 points at that time in the game. They then, of course, turned around, went up 10, And that was kind of all she wrote. Really tough to swallow that a call that, in my opinion, absolutely should not have been made was made, and then we go on to obviously lose the game. I'm not saying we would have won the game with it, but I think we would have been in a much more competitive place. We very well could have gone back down and taken the lead again. That changes the whole complexion of the game if we do. Really, really tough. So that's what I've got for Move Back You Suck. Talk to me. Give me your expert officiating opinion, sir.
Nice. I like it. So this is what's tough, right? That the Gator fan in me wants the unsportsmanlike hit, late hit out of bounds on Johnson. And looking at it back and back and back, it's like, okay, how do they both go down? Who's pulled this, and that, and the other? Is it a continuation of what was on the field? But again, they're what, 8-10 yards off the white line?
Yep.
That's tough. Ultimately, I would have said it probably needed to be flagged. Because, go back to the word that we talked about the most about the officials. If you're going to call this, call that.
Yep.
So the thing that I'm going to call out is, why in Sam Hill was their safety ejected after targeting was called on Montrell Johnson?
Yeah. That was a tough call.
How in Sam Hill is that targeting when his helmet, as we know, when players get ready to collide, because football is a collision sport, not a contact sport, everyone postures and the head goes down, shoulders go down, helmets go down. How in Sam Hill is that targeting when it hits Montrell Johnson's shoulder pad, much less does not do anything else of malicious intent?
So did you hear what they said on the broadcast?
No.
So what they said on the broadcast is that because he led with the crown of the helmet, regardless what he made contact with, because he led with the crown of the helmet, that's why they ruled it targeting. And apparently that's in the rule. I didn't go in and read the rule, but I assume that even though he didn't make contact with the head or neck area, because he led purely with the crown of the helmet, not with the shoulder or anything else, right? That is why they called it targeting and ejected him.
And I can tell you what, I've seen so many plays, hundreds of plays, the same exact way, where if a player is out of place another 2-3 inches, guess what? It's shoulder to shoulder, it's helmet into chest. And at the end of the day, that is a common routine tackle. That's not called for targeting.
Yeah.
So that's why I would say that it shouldn't have been called for targeting, because of the routine nature of the play. How many other DBs that you know that when they go down for a tackle, guess what? I know it sounds silly, but their helmet kind of sticks out another, 10 to 12 inches more than their shoulders. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll
kind of hard for it not to. We're not turtles.
No, I'll leave that to rest. Okay. But either way, it's shame on them. Shame on them for that. Great player, whatever. Okay, fine.
I agree. That was a very tough call for LSU. I agree.
It was. But in like fashion, if you're going to call that, you got to take a look at the late hit on Johnson out of bounds. Just saying. Consistency. Now, the other two things that I tell you what, I'll call those out next is on LSU's second possession, middle first quarter of 2nd and 4, their right tackle moved way early. No flag.
I saw that.
Way early. It was obvious. Any line judge should have picked that up. On LSU's 5th possession, then the second quarter, right tackle moves early again, should have been a second flag. 2 flags, 10 yards, just saying. Right tackle, same guy. Same guy. Okay? So that was what it was. But again, overall, from discipline standpoint, kind of proud of the group, right? From a discipline standpoint, not bad, except for Damien's big one, which was a 15-yarder.
Yeah, agreed.
Okay. Jackson's catch on 3rd down. I think the key word is definitive or indisputable.
Yep.
Here's the thing. You put that footage in front of a jury of 12, they say, that's a catch. Leave it as is. Because at the end of the day, it was ruled a catch. What is the evidence that you can show beyond a reasonable shadow of a doubt that can overturn that reception. Did the ball jostle? Yes. Did the ball shake and move around? Yes. Did the ball touch the ground? Some camera angles
Yeah.
might have showed yes.
I think the nose of it hit, but that's okay if he maintained control.
But that's the thing. He had that thing close to his chest as possible. And I get it. We're Gator fans. We're going to argue for it. But at the end of the day, I think based off the video replay evidence, it was not definitive to the point
Again,
where
if we can make a case, if there can be a debate, then it's not indisputable. That in and of itself makes it not indisputable.
that was a long review.
Oh yeah, real long.
That was a long review. It's almost as if, hey, let's look at that again. I need to see if there. I need to. No. One more time. Camera number 4. Camera number 4. Okay, camera number 2. Like, guys, why are we spending 5 minutes of real time to dispute this? Anyways,
Speaking of
that's it.
long, you realize this was almost a 4-hour game? So much for new
Yeah.
clock rules speeding stuff up. Good grief.
Right?
Sorry, I digress.
Digress away, my friend. All good. But yeah, that's it for move back, you suck on my end.
All right, fair enough. Yeah, I just don't get how stuff like that happens sometimes. It's like the rules go out the window. It's like, oh, there, I see the ball move. Therefore, that's proof that he didn't control it. Like, I don't get it. I don't get it.
Yeah.
I just don't. But anyway, all right, let's move it on. Hit the wrap up here. Talk to me. Where are you at with the team? 2 games left. You think we get a win? You think we get bowl eligible? Do you think we not? Where we go from here? Give me your thoughts.
That's tough, man. That's I've been asked by probably 3 or 4 people today, "Hey, you think we're going to pick up a win?" My answer is yes. Which one though? I don't know. I don't know because if everything else is working the way it's supposed to be working within the program, if the culture is working, if the discipline is working, if the togetherness is working, if the accountability is working, then it's going to get to a certain point where these players go, you know what? We might be undersized. We might not have the tenure and the age, but by golly, we've got a lot of fight. And if it's one thing that Billy consistently says in the press conference is this team's got fight. This group of guys right here, they're the right group of guys. They go to work. They do what's necessary. So, having that been said, do we pick up a win? Yes. Which win? I don't know. Missouri is good. Clearly, Eli has been there for 4 years now, right? And Cook,
Yep.
I don't think we expect them to be this good. So they've got a squad. Missouri is Missouri. It's probably going to be a little bit cold up there. It's going to be a late kick.
Yep.
So based off of that, hopefully the Florida boys will be okay. I just hope that going back to what we mentioned earlier about the fight, the battling, that not giving up, as long as they can finish these 2 games by giving it everything they have, and if Billy can find some way to put together and call 2 great games before he turns the reins over to somebody else, wink, wink.
Yeah.
The effort has got to be there. If AA can make some adjustments on defense, maybe switch some players around, play a little bit more free, and experiment a little bit more, because what have you got to lose with 2 games left to go besides trying to get a bowl bid?
Yeah.
Maybe he needs to try something different. Who knows? Outside of that, we need to continue to play and finish each game in its entirety, win or lose. If we can do that, if the overall morale can stay up, that's the only thing I can hope for the end of the year.
I like it. I think you hit some of the key points that I think are going to be needed there. I've got some of the same here in my thoughts. I think we're pretty much where we thought we'd be after this game. I mean, that's exactly how I thought this game would go for the most part. I mean, maybe not the colossal numbers for them, but score wise, more or less what I thought. So the question comes back to, can this team put together enough in one of these last 2 games to get the win? Right. I think it's fairly obvious that matchup wise, this wasn't the one, right? This wasn't the one to win, right? It wasn't of the three that we had left. So in the remaining two, I think they do present a better chance, but they're still both very challenging. They're both very challenging games, right? There's no question. So will the team continue to fight, like you said, as we have? I think odds are good there. Can Billy get the conservative calling out of the playbook for a game or two? Right? We will see. I don't know. I don't know. But that's what it's going to take. That's what it's going to take is the fight that we've had, somebody stepping up, less conservative play calling, more consistency, and the defense playing as well as they can, right? Which ain't going to be spectacular, right? But better than it has been. More like it was, against Tennessee, let's say. Though again, Tennessee, Missouri's defense is not all world, and they held Tennessee to 7 points. So let's keep that in perspective. Tennessee is not the juggernaut they were. Okay, they're just not. So let's just keep that in mind. So, all right, with that, let's play a little keep it or pitch it for Mizzou. All right. So last week I did go 2-1 despite the outcome of the game, and unfortunately Randy had an 0-3. So our season totals are at 14-12 for me and 8-18 for Randy. It's getting the gap is widening a little bit, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm starting to look like our defense.
I love it. That's good stuff, man. Well, hopefully you can turn around these last couple here, and then maybe even a bowl game. Who knows? We'll hope for it, right? All right. So here we go. Number one, Missouri ranked 75th in passing yards allowed at 232.9 per game. So not so hot, actually. So Florida will throw for over 300 yards. Oh, in this weekend's game. And I should mention, we don't normally do keys to the game type stuff. I actually think it wasn't really intentional, but I think these do kind of represent some keys to the game. Like if we could hit all of these that we have here, I think they actually would give us a really decent chance to win this game if we could hit them all. I'm not sure we will, but I think if all these came true, I do actually think we'd have a really good shot to win. So again, over 300, 232.9 per game allowed. What do you think? Keep it or pitch it?
I'm keeping it.
Oh, really?
I'm
You think
keeping
we're
it.
gonna get the passing game done? Okay.
Based off of just based off how Missouri's been playing and looking at some of their cornerback play and safety play, I would love to see us get into a really good rhythm and Graham just sling that pigskin, baby.
So I'm with you. I think we have to do this.
Oh,
I think their rush defense is much better than their pass defense.
yeah.
I think we will be kind of forced in, our hand will be forced into this a little bit. I think Billy will try to run the ball still because Billy's going to try to run the ball no matter what. I think he's going to find out that doesn't work real quick, and I think he's going to switch to the pass quicker than he normally would. And I think we'll find some success there. So I am keeping this as well. All right, number two. Missouri ranks 64th in rushing yards per game at 159.8. I cannot believe that 160 yards a game is 64th in the nation. That's crazy.
Yeah, right?
Right? The Gators will hold them to under 120 yards rushing.
So I'm going to have to pitch this.
Yep. I'm with you.
Really have to pitch it just because of what Schrader's done and Cook's done. And
yeah.
Schrader himself is just a very silent killer.
Mm-hmm.
So
he wasn't silent last week. 200 yards rushing, 100 yards receiving last week over both versus Tennessee. He was a monster.
He just goes, he runs, he gets up, he heads the ball to the official, or he puts it down. He doesn't gallivant and jump up or put his arms out. He just goes about his business.
Hard-nosed kid for sure. And he's a hard runner, and he's physical, and he's very Ray Davis, and I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like it. I know it's a bad word to say, or two bad words to say, but I don't like it. I'm with you. I think they go over this. I don't necessarily think that costs us the game, but I think they go over this. I'm right there with you. So we're 2 for 2 agreeing again. It's kind of weird. All right. Number 3, Missouri has Brady Cook. For the record, Brady Cook's been playing well overall. I don't know that his throwing is that great. That piece of it is hit or miss. He has 8 interceptions through 9 games this season, so almost 1 pick per game. Florida will intercept at least one pass during the upcoming game. Keep it or pitch it.
Man, this is tough for me, man. I want to see us get another INT. We haven't had a lot of them this year. Haven't had a lot. But you know what? I'm going to keep it. I'm going to say we get a pick on Brady Cook.
I agree. 3 for 3.
Oh,
Very unusual.
Unreal.
Yeah, buddy. I know that's only twice that's happened all year. So that we've agreed on all three. I am with you. I think we get one. I watched him play. I watched Mizzou play Tennessee most of that game last week. I was under impressed with his throwing. I don't think his accuracy is that great. I think if we can get a little pressure in there, he'll airmail one and we'll get one. And I think we can get a little pressure in there. So I'm calling for it. Again, we got to pull out all the stops here. We got to get a win. I don't know. I don't know that this is the one. I actually wonder if our chances against Florida State, as crazy as that sounds, aren't better than they are against Missouri. However, I think both games are at least theoretically winnable, and not that LSU wasn't theoretically winnable. I mean, again, we had a lead in the third, so of course it was theoretically winnable. But I really do think that was the least probable win of the three. So, if we can play like that on offense and put up a little better effort defensively, I think we got a decent shot. So we'll see what happens. See what happens. It's another road game, but it's at night. It's not at noon. It's not at noon. No noon games, right? So we'll see what happens.
I know you had to say that to me.
Yeah, after all the noon game talk. So again, that here's hoping, and send up the prayer and the hope for a win. But regardless, we will be back next Monday to talk about it, whatever happens. And thanks to everybody for tuning in and listening. We really appreciate it. And any closing thoughts from you there, Mr. Randy?
That's it, man. As always, appreciate your input, your insight. This was good. Therapy was good. I can leave on a good note tonight, and then hopefully during the week we'll hear that we had a good week of practice. We're in good shape. We're gonna end up heading up to the Ozarks or whatever up there. A day earlier, get acclimated, get everything good to go. So, all will be well. And as long as we show up to play like we did for LSU,
yeah.
I really see good things happening. Because again, the first thing is showing up. The second thing is being in the right mindset. So if we can do that, I say that's more than half the battle in getting everything else taken care of to drop Mizzou at home and upset them there.
I like it. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right. Well, and same to you, man. Appreciate all yours as well. Really good points this week, and look forward to talking to you again about it next week, man.
For sure.
So, with that, wherever you are and whenever you may be listening, thanks for taking the time, and we'll see you around, Gator Nation.